All right, another week, another opinions for the Trash Cast with your host Matthias, along with the boys
John.
And Will.
and Will. Well, we have a lot to talk about due to Warhammer Fest, so I say we
What's that?
just.
What's Warhammer Fest?
Well,
What
you
are you talking about?
see, it's an event
It's
that
where like
usually.
Adam it's where Adam Troke and the other guy pretend they're excited about things they don't know.
I was gonna say it's an event that got the last one day they got stretched into a whole week, but that works out too, I guess.
It is interesting. That was a sort of an overall thing about Warhammer Fest. So Warhammer Fest is usually 2 days. Um, I feel like this could have been two really jam-packed days, as opposed to be 6 days. I wonder how that'll be perceived as time goes on. Of like, if this was the best marketing decision to like promise 6 days of reveals, and like, yes, something was revealed every single day. But it's interesting because my understanding is it's kind of similar to something like BlizzCon, where it's less than 48 hours, but there's tons and tons of stuff, and then you get to meet the devs, and then you go home.
Eh, we'll see. I don't think it was that good, but there's only I only care about like two things compared to
Mm.
the rest of the stuff. Specialist games don't really care too much about. Black Library, I mean, I like the books, but I don't get too hyped for them.
Specialist game has the best release. Well, I'll scream later. Don't worry.
I look
I
forward to
assume you're
your.
talking about. I
You'll
know
see.
he's talking about Crabnose. Crabnose is great.
That I thought he would be more excited for Aeronautica, but I guess that's. I
I
guess that
would
works
be,
out too.
but it's a freaking crab.
Well,
The
let's
crab
go
is
into
very
the first
powerful.
or the second day because we already looked at the first day, and we got the rest of the sister line, which I said was gonna be the first day. Well, I said sisters in AdMech, but according to them in the stream, they've already showed off all the AdMech stuff. So, we
Uh,
got one new model, which was the new High Lord of Terra.
I mean, she could be very terrifying depending on who you are in the galaxy.
it's kind
Heretics
of cool.
beware.
I will say, like the war suit with the skirt looks 10 times better because it has a skirt. I don't know why. I guess the same reason why robed Space Marines are way cooler than like non-robed Space Marines, and robed Stormcasts are way cooler than not robed Stormcasts. But this is a dope model.
It does look nice.
I don't love her, but I'm not really super crazy about any war suits. However, I do think my personal disinclination towards the model is offset by how cool it is that it's a High Lord of Terra
Yeah.
that is playable. She's a character that we've been aware of her in the lore for a while. Like, her background in 10 seconds is the previous like high sister, high abbess, or whatever their title is. Like, she kind of was killed off in a audio drama that they did sort of towards the beginning of 8th edition. And then Gilliman hired this sort of newcomer to take over the position. And like, she's one of the like leaders of like all of the Imperium. It's kind of cool that like they have there's like a Primarch presence model in Sisters now. Even
True.
though it's kind of a different thing, but it's cool that it's like this is the leader of the whole faction.
I just
Yeah,
look
they
at
got
this model and I'm like, this is a warjack. That's all I see.
plastic
Yeah, she
for
does. She feels like she could be a protectorate of Menoth model, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But that also was never my aesthetic. It's well done though. I will say, I think it's very very well sculpted. Um, but it sounds like, John, like you kind of like the war suits.
I think this one's cool. The others, they're okay. I will say that this this whole sisters thing reveal is way less cool because we already know most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they released some like alternate sculpts for like the shield unit, it's like, yeah, we kind of know this exists. So I mean, they're cool, right? Like they were cool the first time, and they're not less cool now, but it's definitely less exciting because we know them.
Right.
Well, we also got a Psyker model as well, or whatever the heck that thing is, that they also showed off. The guy by the banner.
Oh, I don't think it's a psyker.
Could have fooled me.
I want to say this is sort of a redone character version of like an old thing that they had that was like some sort of adjutant that like helps you, boost leadership values or something. I want to say this is an old model.
Yeah, I could definitely see that with the aesthetic. Apparently, it's a character unit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a character unit.
Right, I said Psyker. It should have been more like a person spouting out holy blessings.
Yeah, it's like a support character. It's kind of, it's sort of like Color Sergeant Kell, who got killed at the end of 7th edition. Like it's a non-combat hero, which hey, is kind of a Warhammer tradition. There's the battle standard bearers who are there to buff peoples.
Yeah, which we saw. The Dogmata. Already saw, gave our opinions on, like, beginning of the month. Palatine.
Yeah.
Gave our opinions a long time ago. The Celestine Sacrosaints. So, we've seen these models with the halberd, not the maces. But these are basically the same models, but now we get a better look at them. And they do have their guns in their shields.
Mm-hmm.
So, they are not just a pure close combat unit. But, I mean, you're not going to really use these gals for shooting long range with pistols, so. So there's our two variants. We got halberds and maces. And that's about it for them. Overall, they look nice. Oh, I know. How do you feel about the power mace, Will? Because I know you didn't really like the aesthetic with the halberd.
It's funny to say because there's another low tech 40K day that we'll be talking about that I generally very much like. It's not quite as the last one felt a little too gothic and not as sci-fi gothic. These are okay. And I've kind of like mellowed a little bit on the other ones. Like they got guns in the shields. They're still, if they're standing together and someone in the squad is like a heavy weapon, you're not going to probably mistake them for some sort of fantasy thing. And sometimes simple is better. These do not bother me as much as that model that we talked about a couple weeks ago did. And I mean, it's really hard to say because Sisters just doesn't do it for me. It's never done it for me, whether in artwork or lore or anything like that. But I mean, they're doing a great job making the sort of the fantasy of the Sisters of Battle come to life in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Like who could possibly? I mean, they're gonna have to invent new memes now of like what's the next sort of plastic Sisters of Battle thing. It's all just kind of people wanting re-releases of older stuff. But for Sisters, not only did they do that, but they basically like rebooted them. There's so much stuff that was not based at all in anything that we already had, and particularly a lot of their special characters. They had like 3 special characters before, none of whom were really, at least to my mind, sort of big heavy hitters in people's minds and hearts in the 40K community. So all this stuff is, I think, generally very welcome and pretty great.
Yeah. Well, they needed the model range, unfortunately. Get out of their old sculpts.
Yeah. I don't know how much of their stuff would possibly be left now of the old sculpts.
I
Maybe
don't
a
think
couple
there's
of those
anything
like
left.
kind of. It's a couple of those like inquisitorial henchmen kind of characters, like the Crusader, that kind of ended up in there. But for the most part, they've kind of kicked the shackles of resin and metal.
Yeah. They're all basically plastic except for the old character models, witch hunters and inquisitors, like you said. So.
And even those miniatures here and there have been resculpted in the last couple of years. I mean, we had Inquisitor Greyfax kind of kicked off a lot of those Inquisition models, but there was, correct me if I'm wrong, John, you actually probably would know this better than I do, because I wasn't working at the time. Didn't they make a Blackstone Fortress expansion that had like a Crusader and like another
Yeah.
Inquisitor? It was like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they haven't forgotten about that stuff. They just kind of haven't gotten to it yet, or maybe found like its own niche. Because like that's the kind of thing that they could make in small army, small codex of Inquisition if they really wanted to. But I
No.
just imagine it's such a low priority.
That stuff will be more reserved for the specialist kind of, or I'm not specialist, the box games.
Mm,
And then,
like
they'll,
Trader.
yeah, and then, they'll do what they do with the Warcry minis. They'll give them rules and points that you could take them into your army, but they're never going to do anything like give them their own book kind of deal.
Yeah, they're not as essential.
Or they'll get the Yunari treatment and be a white dwarf thing.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on from them, we got the Paragon Warsuits, which we've already seen. For sure, we've seen it all. The baby carriages is what everyone keeps calling it. Even though I don't think they're as bad as the Grey Knights, but
Yeah, these ones
No.
actually look cool. Just not for me. Again, I like the High Lord one because of the robe.
yeah.
Yeah, she's a bit better done, and it's cool that these models are made better to me by her existence, because then you've got like a sort of a honor guard for her, at least on like a visual aesthetic. Like it would be awesome if there was some sort of hulking Primaris bodyguard with shields and swords, who maybe wore robes and came out in Indominus to hang out with Gilliman. That'd be really sick.
That would be really cool.
That would be really cool. And it'd be called like sword defenders or something.
Oh,
That would be so awesome. But GW doesn't care about Ultramarines or Space Marines
Or Space
either,
Marines.
because there were
Yeah, dude.
no Space Marine reveals aside from some planes.
Yeah, I know. It's all the sister love out there. But
This day got a lot of bad press on the day that it came out. Did you guys see that too?
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna bother talking about the tank. Yeah, we could just go straight and rate this day. This day was, as a 40k fan, this day was really disappointing.
It would be hype as heck if we didn't see like 90% of it already. Straight up, I think.
Exactly. Because
If you were, sorry.
yeah, because I watched everything except for the last day, because I kind of forgot about it.
That's
But
funny because I watched nothing but the last day. Carry on.
yeah, so watching this, yeah, everyone was, the whole Twitch chat was very disappointed in that all they revealed were sister models that we've had already seen, plus this character, and that was it. It was, and I can understand that, because it's like we've seen all this before. They've been teasing every unit to this build up, and it's just like, so you're just gonna show us one model and that's it? I mean, yeah, they showed the Sisters of Battle Codex as well, but the Codex doesn't really mean anything considering we haven't gotten a new Codex in the last month. So, seeing how far backlog they are.
I mean,
yeah.
I would imagine if you were a Sisters of Battle fan, this would only be positive because you got even more stuff than you were expecting. The question reveal, it wasn't known if what the other 40k stuff was going to be exactly. We had a pretty strong suspicion what it was. Like for Sisters of Battle fans, this is cool, but this is also the kind of thing that it doesn't have any broader implications for the game. It's more just like, hey, this is awesome. More Sisters of Battle things. Not quite like the AOS day, which we covered last time, where not only was Gravelords got even more stuff, but we had a model that kind of was going to shake up the status quo going forward for an entire Grand Alliance. So this felt a little bit anticlimactic compared with day one.
Yeah, day 2, 40k fan, very disappointed. And I know it wasn't the only one. And it's just because,
Yeah.
like John said, we already saw 90% of this stuff before. So this was, I don't count Black Library Day because it doesn't really appeal to me. I would say this was probably the worst day of Warhammer Fest, in my opinion.
I would say so because we've seen everything.
Yeah.
Period. Like,
Not everything though. A lot of it.
I'm sorry, a lot of it. We've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think
It definitely.
I think
I
the
can see
terrain
that.
box, didn't help because it's like a packaging of some terrain.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention that. The card on. We forgot we got two other reveals. So we got the card on Battlezone Mechanicus, which is old technically. My gaming group friend has all this terrain already, so it's like, oh, so they just repackaged it all into a bigger box. Not too impressive here.
It's not too impressive. It might have some practical value, but it's not the kind of thing that somebody would. These are the kind of things you see at an award show and you politely clap.
Yeah.
Mostly upon seeing the price tag. It's
it's
usually that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It feels like a Sunday preview kind of thing.
And then there was the was it this one? It was this one. It was DLC Part 2 coming out as well. With the card on Warzone Act 2.
Yeah, that's definitely some bad press of like the day one DLC type of deal, like for Mechanicus.
It was
Having Bellacor's rules finally is great, but it's like like if
yeah.
you're a hardcore demon fan, you're gonna get this and the Demon Codex.
But he has rules in his instruction booklet. Like, I mean, you can. It's not great rules, but you can still play him, right?
Well,
Like,
he has a stat line.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's all he has.
No special rules.
Speaking of Belcor, since it was probably the only good news to come out of this day, he would be able to be taken with they didn't specify, but they said Chaos Marines, be able to join Demons and Chaos Marines without breaking any formation kind of deal. So
if you take Bellacore,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So
That's thematic also.
It'll be good to see some demons start popping up again in some Chaos armies.
Maybe Bellacore will finally have a point in 40k from a lore perspective. He's in one story, and in a couple of codex like liner notes of like footnotes of like, yeah, that guy from End Times is also here. But that guy from End Times, I mean the guy who signed the checks for End Times.
Yeah, I totally forgot about those two things. But still, pretty disappointing day because with the codexes being so not on the ball, getting this DLC is not good news for people. Definitely put a lot of sour taste in people's mouths. But we can move on to the next thing here, which was a Black Library. This is more like John and Will's department. The only thing that I saw is the Gaunt's Ghost miniatures. That's the only thing I got.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool to talk about actually. So let's start there. I hate you. No, hate. I find humans in Warhammer 40,000 very boring. These are so cool.
The books are pretty good.
Like they're very
I mean,
go ahead, Will.
I mean, Gaunt's Ghosts. I mean, I also am not crazy about humans, and the Imperial Guard has never been my thing. But those books are not bad. Like there's a reason that there's models of these and not from Nick Kime's any book ever. Like they're Den Abnett characters. I mean, in the same way that Eisenhorn like has definitely hit different opposed to all of the stuff that's about Inquisitors and Guardsmen and stuff. Like Tanith's First and Only, like they're well written characters. Like they did a good job. These are cool models for the people that really want them. I believe they've had miniatures in metal before, but they were like unspeakably bad.
Yeah, well, they
Even at the
are
time.
redesigned plastic, so
Yeah.
they're getting an HD remake right here.
Yep. I won't be picking them up, but they're great models.
I am the same. I will not be picking these up at all.
I might pick them up. We'll see.
It's cool to have more options of just fun, characterful models. Like for people who like Guard, and for people who like Dan Abnett, which maybe they should, because it's pretty damn great. This is all good news. They were the only models that were revealed on this day, which I think for a miniatures company, this is the day that kind of did this need to be a whole day sort of situation. The interview with Dan Abnett was cool though, that they had on the live stream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Black Library is big enough that it could have its own day, but miniature person like me, I don't really care about the miniatures. I dabble here and there with a couple stories, but I don't really have any interest in this, so this is more like I said, more like John in your department, because I know you guys read a lot of the books.
Well, there's one book in particular that was of interest.
Oh, yeah, which one?
It's the only one I care about. Warhawk. I was at work and I was like, holy crap! Like my face was like, oh my gosh, when I saw this. Because one, it's Siege of Terra, which it's already hype for me. But two, I'm about to start a White Scars army for 30K, and it's just like, let's go. And it's Chris Wright. He's the guy who he made White Scars a thing in Warhammer literature. So this is super cool. I'm still reading through Mortis, the current one, but this is great. Also, there's a lot of implications here, especially which actually have been causing a lot of commotion in the 30K community. The fact that Mortarion being a demon Primarch like his 40K, people are like, oh, dude, like on one hand you got the rational people, and I'm being biased, but like, oh yeah, it makes sense for the demon. And then you got the other people like, oh, like Horus Heresy is being dumbed down for 40K players, but need Mortarion. It's like, come on.
Well, all 30 of those guys can go play Horus Heresy with cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
Like this is a cover of which one day you will be able to own both of the miniatures on it. Right?
But
Yeah.
This is super hype. It's more Siege of Terra, and it's a project I'm gonna work on, which hypes me even more.
Yeah, it's no surprise that Chris Wright is writing the novel that's going to be probably the most centered around Khan in the series. I mean, this conflict that's portrayed on the cover is not one that's really ever been covered in detail before, and I'm not even sure if like we knew about before Horus Heresy novels started. Of like Mortarion and the Khan having a rivalry of sorts, which has started in Scars, which is like the White Scars novel from the Horus Heresy series. It's super cool. It's also crazy to think that this is the third to last book.
Really? So
After this one, there will be 2 Siege of Terra books left, and that will be it.
ADP is running one of them.
I think Abnett is writing the last one.
That's fine. I mean, time we're breaking what's his face. No, we're
Yeah, it's not those. Oh god, that would be terrible.
Cool dude.
The best. That's the worst. That is the worst possible scenario. Is if somehow Gav Thorpe writes the last book.
Oh my god.
But I think what's going to happen is I think it's going to be ADB is going to do book 7, and then Dan Abnett will do book 8. Only because ADB has so many times said like Dan Abnett must be the man that writes the last book. But maybe they change their minds on that. It would be kind of a closely written schedule for Abnett if he had done book 4 and book 8. Those are pretty close together unless he has very few other projects right now. So yeah, I mean, Black Library Day is one of those things that it's cool. It really didn't need to be its own day. And I think that's just a result of GW deciding to spread this out into a week of releases, which by doing so raises expectations enormously for each day. like if the Sisters of Battle thing was like a weekend reveal, and that was like the only thing on just like any given Saturday, I think it would be pretty cool. But the fact that it's Warhammer Fest on it, it's a live stream. Uh, that's setting the bar high.
Yeah. Well, just want to touch on the fact that you said this shouldn't have been a day. Where do you think the Black Library stuff should have been? Just like a Sunday preview kind of deal, or?
I think in the old Warhammer Fest way, they would just have, there would be a day. The first day would cover all of the major stuff for the core systems, and then day 2 is like the things for the people who stayed longer at the panels. Of like, that's when you do specialist games. That's when you do Black Library. So you do like Necromunda, Warcry, Underworld, stuff like that.
All right, so I'll put it with like the specialist games kind of thing.
Yeah, just because like what they do with these events is they, you get in line after going to the UK. You get in line for 10 hours, and then you sit in a chamber, and then they show you all the models for 2 hours, and then you get in line to look at the models in the cases, and then you go home. But I mean, after the Sisters of Battle Day, this wasn't as disappointing because it was like, oh, what could it possibly be? The fact that there were models at all is cool.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, indifferent about this day. I know that a lot of people would be happy with books that they're eagerly waiting for. So I mean, and the models do look nice. So I'm sure a lot of people were happy. I agree with Will that this probably shouldn't be a day. Should have been lumped in with something else, but they needed to fill out that 6 days somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there anything else you guys were excited about on this day, or should we
No, not really.
move on?
No AOS novels, which I thought was odd. That's it's strange to me because I think it's part of it is like Josh Reynolds, who left Black Library about a year and a half ago. He was really the driving force between like the Age of Sigmar novelized storylines, and there's no AOS on the horizon in any of this. Like Warhammer Crime and stuff is really cool, but it's funny that it's a whole day of Black Library and no Age of Sigmar at all. So I guess they're probably trying to figure out what to do next since Reynolds is gone.
Combination of that and the Saturday announcement, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right, well, let's move on to the next day, which was Specialist Games, day 4.
Model 2021 Model of the Year right here.
Well, let's so what was the first one? Yeah, okay, here we go. So, Deepkin.
There's a fish and a crab. That is the coolest thing this year. It's a crab, guys, and it's a
crab
fish
nose
murdering
Asian crab nose.
Like you can have a crab fight a rock in Underworlds. Like that's
you can have a mushroom battle of fish.
Yep.
That is an adventure that can occur.
Can you do that? Titanicus? Nope.
Underworlds is a great product line. Underworlds has almost no terrible models, and it's sort of limited history. It's only been around for like the last 3 or 4 years or something, if that actually. I want to say Shadespire might have been 2017, but like these are 5 excellent sculpts. The Achillean warrior on foot is great. The leader is great. The Namarti also looks really distinct and cool. And there's a crab and a fish, which is just, it sells the faction identity in a bite-sized package of 5 incredibly cool sculpts. Like everybody online who seems to enjoy Underworlds or like Age of Sigmar seems to be hype about this. The crab kind of stole the show today.
Yeah, the crab was heavily spammed, especially on the next day after. It was a model that stole the show.
There were a lot of people.
You're breaking up, Will.
Some circles is like mocking it too. A lot of crab is sort of been reposted into them living at the bottom of a well. But like the crab is incredible.
Yep. It's besides the one normal looking elf there, I don't really like, but the rest of it looks pretty good. I don't know. I think I like the full-bodied armored elf design more than
Yeah,
whatever that is.
yeah, the eel rider on foot is dope.
But yeah, it's nice. Definitely cool. I think I will pick this up and add it to my Deepkin army because who doesn't want a crab and a fish running around and taking objectives and
Oh heck yeah.
killing some Sigmarines?
The best $30 decision you'll make that day.
$40.
Oh, whoops, $40. It's okay. Crab nose is worth it.
Yep.
He's worth it alone. What else we got? We got Delac new models. Did I say that right?
To continue the tradition, Games Workshop is like, this is actually Pokemon Day. Here's more Pokemon. There's a freaking octopus and like a robot snake. That's so cool.
It's a worm,
pretty cool.
I believe.
Oh yeah, the psychoteric worms.
Yeah,
Cool.
they're adding some psychic to this faction, or at least they were hinting at it during the
Yeah.
live stream.
Yeah, I think they will because they have a psychic unit with no model. That's why people don't see because there's no model for it. But yeah, in the lore they kind of use psychers really rarely because psychers are super dangerous. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think this is an opportunity to like expand on that, like you mentioned.
What do you think of the ninjas, as they called them in the live stream? The
Dope.
first two. You like them? Do you like this model range?
Actually, I think they're the worst. Not one of them was my least favorite of the gangs in terms of aesthetics, but these are definitely super cool. I think because they're way more dynamically posed compared to the original gang.
Mm-hmm.
I also just love like memes aside, like I love the animals. The flying like octopus is super cool.
It is definitely unique and something I did not expect. But man, that was it for Necromunda. They got 6 new models, so that's cool.
I mean, good for Necro. They're consistently getting reveals, right? Unlike some other Forge World games, but yeah, I mean, if you're a hardcore Necro fan, this is just more good news. More stuff coming out for a game that is getting a lot of support, which
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Not dead.
And it should be said, to pinning it for Forge World, like it's a game that needs a lot of support. It's a
Yes.
game that has distinct. It's unlike Kill Team is not drawing from 40K. It's drawing from itself. It has to have original models made for it, or it won't work. So they've kept up the promise of keeping this game alive, and I mean, obviously they must be doing that because people are buying it. So there's a little bit of the necro community is also keeping its promises of supporting the game. But yeah, it's great to see for people who like Necromunda. The video game is coming. Maybe that'll make Necromunda blow up even more. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, they showed off more gameplay of the Necromunda game or hired gun game, which was not even really worth going over. They're like, yeah, we gave here's some gameplay of a new gun that we added, and that was it. It's like, okay, do we really need to see that?
Yeah, as to be fair, I agree. Like it was just kind of small, barely a teaser. But honestly, I've been following this game as far as like not Dawn of War or Total War quality 40K games go and Space Marine. This is up there. Hopefully the game's actually like decent because it looks fun.
We
So
can
we will
only
see.
hope.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Um, and the next game, which I'm not gonna lie, totally forgot exist.
Yes.
Uh, Aeronautica is getting Space Marines and Eldar, and a new lava map. I don't have much to say on this because I kind of forgot this game existed, to be honest.
It's cool. Plastic memes aside, Plastic Thunderhawk. I'm probably getting that for AT. as terrain. Actually, a lot of the AT community is saying like that's cool if you have like an airfield or something. That's a great terrain piece. Also, for people who play Epic, these are Epic Space Marines, the Xiphons. I kind of find it like this game design commentary here. I find it odd that they picked a Storm Eagle and not the Fire Raptor. It's because Storm Eagle, for you guys who don't know, it's a transport, while the Fire Raptor is the same. It's a similar chassis as the Storm Eagle, but it has no transport capacity. It just has more guns. So I find it interesting that they pick a transport game in a game with nothing to transport.
That
I
is
guess it'll
interesting.
have like transport tools, but I mean they all are have no transports. So I don't know. It's interesting. I find that interesting. Cool models though.
Yeah, they did. They trolled the community hard.
Classic Thunderhawk.
Plastic Thunderhawk, just not the one that you wanted.
I don't know if a plastic Thunderhawk is a good idea. Now knowing more about miniature production costs and all that. Now that you
It
know.
would set back a lot of other things.
Yeah, I'd rather have like, like what's something like new orcs like we were saying that's a better idea than a plastic thunder, you know.
Yeah, Games Workshop could do it, but it probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's like that famous, uh, infamous quote from BlizzCon. You know, you think you want it, but you don't.
And sometimes you don't. That's a fascinating quote too, just because of like, well, that is like a industry defining quote of controversy. But in this case, you don't want it. I mean, it could be maybe in 10 years when Games Workshop is a household name all across the planet, and like everybody does Warhammer, and like there's Warhammer and Fortnite or something like. But it just seems like it would be such a logistical nightmare to do that, and how many people would be able to really use it? Like the
It's
Warlord Titan exists, and that's a very difficult model to actually use.
it's gonna have to be when they can make Apocalypse more streamlined and more mainstream, rather than the 2,000 point cap that everyone likes to play at, right? That would be the only way they'd ever do something like that and start making like all the bigger Titans and crazy Forge World stuff.
A Thunderhawk also just doesn't make much sense from a 40k gameplay perspective because it's a transport. Going back to the Storm Eagle thing, like it's a giant ship that carries a lot of Space Marines from their spaceship to the planet surface. Unless if you're not drop podding, right? Doesn't really have any functional use game. Considering if you're playing a 40k game, your dudes are kind of where they need to be. That they don't need a Thunderhawk to take them there. So
Mhm.
having
It would have to be a big table. It'd have to be a big board for it to be
right.
justified to be being used.
Exactly. So definitely shouldn't expect one anytime soon. At least unless every Xenos faction has gone the Necron treatment, I wouldn't expect one, nor would I want to see one until that's happened.
And it would be $1,000 model. And just how many people, like, how could it make its own investment back? I mean, yeah, it is. In the same way that I think it's really cool that like the new scale Titans are being made for AT, like the newest one whose name escapes me. I'm sure John, you remember. That's great that exists in tiny plastic as opposed to giant unwieldy resin.
Yes, I agree with that. But yeah, any how would you guys rate this day? The specialist games.
10 out of 5 because of the crab. Jokes aside, it's a solid. It's a great day. They delivered what you would want for these games. I do wish there was a Warcry or Kill Team announcement, but you know what? Not everything has to get something all the time.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I thought Warcry was definitely gonna get something.
Yeah.
Warcry has gotten a lot over the last 4 months, though. I mean, at the end December and November, last 6 months, I guess. Like Catacombs and the books that came out with Catacombs, people who play Warcry, only positive reception there. Like even online, where people would be mad, like it's it's just good stuff. Like Warcry also, because it feeds off of AOS, it's very easy for them to do, you know, Warhammer community articles where they make more things that are playable in AOS, playable in Warcry. Kill Team also kind of functions that way. Debates as to whether the game needs a second edition or not aside. Like, unlike Necromunda, which absolutely needs releases to exist and to proliferate, Kill Team is mostly paper products that would be distinct to it. Like the stuff that came out in Pariah Nexus, like that was a 40K release. You know, I'm not surprised. I think they're probably thinking critically about what to do with Kill Team because it hasn't gotten releases outside of Pariah Nexus for a while, and Pariah Nexus was not the most popular.
No.
Yeah,
It was
people are
popular for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and people actually like getting back into Kill Team. A lot of people are saying that Prime Nexus kind of broke the game because it made Space Marines 2 wounds, and no one else has been updated. Weapons especially. I don't know if you guys recall in 40K how Melta guns, flamers, and heavy bolters were changed. Well, the Space Marine ones were changed, but not other factions. So, yeah, Kill Team needs something. Come on, GW. Like,
White Dwarf or something.
Yeah,
Does it need something?
I think it just needs an update. Well, the bare minimum I would want is an update that one gives the factions the weapon changes, and two gives every other Space Marine, like Chaos Marines and Grey Knights, 2 health, 2 wounds. Then I'm kind of fine with that game for now. Like I played a game. We can talk about the if we have time at the rant section. But I played a game of Kill Team. It was fine. Just needs an update there. But best case is second edition, but I know we'll see. Other pressing matters that I'd rather GW divert their attention to, but
I think that's why. I think that's ultimately like, yes, it could definitely do with some TLC and like it could, you know, need another shot in the arm. But GW has other fires to put out.
yeah.
So I think it may be a while until that comes into vogue again.
All right then. Well, after positive specialist games, we can move on to the next day, which was even more Warhammer 40K, which I did call. This was all going to be dedicated to orcs, except for that one part where it wasn't dedicated to orcs.
Except for that one part.
Yeah, but yeah, we got Beast Snagga Orcs box army set coming out. They announced, which it's gonna be coming with all these Beast Snaggas right here.
It's gonna be a running theme in this podcast with his orc releases. Third reminder that John thinks space orcs are dumb and do not fit the theme of 40K and need to be squatted if we had to squat an army. I take all of that back. I'm gonna play orcs.
The Beast Snaggas.
Why is this better?
Because the models are just cool. I think it goes back, like Will keeps telling me before, like a big part of like an army's charm and appeal is really the model quality. And my gosh, like these are so cool. That's okay. That's actually half of it. The other half, I was talking to our buddy Tom, and we kind of realized, and especially for me, I realized this because I love Horus Heresy, as you guys know. And I kind of feel there's two kinds of 40K. There's the Space Marine 40K, which is, Space Marines, Chaos Marines. I guess kind of Custodes fit in there. Where it's like you have a like if 40K was only just Horus Heresy and Space Marines, it would still work. It wouldn't be as cool as it is now, but it works as a self-contained kind of thing. And again, Horus Heresy is just all Space Marine. Well, some people would disagree because there's Mechanicum and Imperial Army, but to me, it's just all space. It's about Space Marines, right? I already have I have a lot of 40K armies. I have Chaos Marines, I have Dark Angels, I have all these 30K armies, and that's the Space Marine 40K. I don't really have much of the other 40K, the Xenos, the Guard. Like I was reading the Sisters of Battle Codex the other day, and I was like, oh, the lore is kind of cool. Like I didn't know a lot of this stuff, like the origins, who they are, like how they function. Like it feels new, and I've been playing this game for like almost going to 20 years now, and yeah, I found that really cool, and I think these new orc models are just pushing me to that direction of like, hey, like here's some new cool models that are not Space Marines, and just the quality of these orc designs are just like so like I could see myself designing like 1,000-point army of orcs just as a side hobby. So it'd be nice to paint something aside on armor, AOS project aside, but yeah, like old models plus something that to me that I feel new in. Like again, being in that part of 40K that is not about Space Marines, I feel like almost like a new player, like learning a lot of new things and getting hyped about things I don't know about. So there you go.
Yeah, it's funny because this sort of doubles down on like the sort of primal, feral, clunky part of orcs, which historically, when we've discussed it, John, like that's the part that's like these guys don't fit, but it's doing it well,
Yeah.
and it's doing it in a creative way. And I mean, I think also it should be said about these orc models, like Games Workshop has a sense of humor, and I think with Greenskins, that's them on cruise control. Like the little grot that has like a big nail in his hand that's riding like a baby squig with a prosthetic wheel is just. It didn't need to be in there, but it's great that it is. These models have a lot of character,
Well, should we go
and
through 'em?
that's yeah, we definitely can.
And don't forget the bomb strapped into the squig in the grot.
The dynamite. It's like
Yeah.
it tells the story in itself, and that's good design.
Yes, well, they do look amazing, and we got our
Picking this box up.
what is this? A knob, I believe, and a giant squig, or is this a war
Yeah,
boss?
on the Smash a Squig.
Smash a squig
Is
with
that
a
not,
dome plate.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep, it's very nice looking. We got an old orc character from second edition, I want to say.
I think he's in third edition too, but yeah, he's a super character necromancy happening here. He's really really old.
You know,
Um,
when I saw him, I was hoping in my heart, because I don't know much orc lore. I think I started my orc army back in 5th edition, I want to say. I thought this was old Zogwart.
I did too.
The weird boy that turns people into squigs.
When I saw his hair, I thought that, but it is cool that I mean they could still do old Zogwart if they decide to. This is proof that they can kind of do whatever they want to do. It's his lore is amazing. Just that like he's an orc that like values Gretchen, or at least thinks they're not useless. I mean, he literally had a rule in his original version where he turned a unit of Gretchen into a unit of Super Gretchen. That's so dumb. It's so just like the not trying level of orcs of like Gazgul's ship is called World Killer. It's like he thought of that in like 5 seconds. It's very cool. I also like how you can see on the model, like he's clearly old. Like his skin is all sort of like withered and like folded in places around like what parts of him are not bionic. It's he's a really out there design, and I don't think he'll be for everyone. But it's very orky. It fits the faction.
I just remembered Gazgul exists. I'm definitely playing orcs.
There
That's
you
Yeah,
go.
Gazgul exists.
awful.
Yeah, we got him. Yep, there's the little Gretchen you were talking about. They highlighted. They said they was gonna steal the show that day, but I think Crab still took the whole entire Warhammer Fest, so it's good to see. And they got their Beast Snagger book. Yeah.
I think that's a new Orc Codex.
Yeah, it's an orc codex.
Sorry. It's the new Orc Codex. I keep forgetting that. I just see the Beast Snaggers on and I'm like, Beast Snagger book right there. It does say on the side Codex Ordex.
It is something to mention that Beast Sagas are just a part of orcs. They're not a new faction. They're just another like subset of orcs,
Yeah.
which is super cool. I like that.
Well, I mean, we don't need any like more DLC books, so the fact that they're just integrated into the army is good.
Yeah, there's some people online who sort of are belly aching that like these guys are not, why isn't this snake bites like a new codex? Like why isn't it the snake bite orcs? It's like that's terrible. That's like wanting all of the stuff from Space Marine half of Shadowspear, all of like the incursors and infiltrators and stuff to be a Raven Guard only thing. It's like, dude, that's splitting the pie.
Yeah.
Like just make it accessible to everybody unless it's a special character. I mean, character units are cool, and like special units are the kind of thing that is in Horus Heresy. But Horus Heresy is also kind of proven that splitting it up too much really makes the releases feel like they take forever. Because if you have a unit that's only in one version of an army, which Horus Heresy Space Marines are essentially, very specific branches of one core kind of army. It if there's a World Eater unit that comes out, a unit didn't come out for the other 17 legions, right?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I also look at it this way, right? Perfect example right now is AdMech. AdMech doesn't even have a codex yet. Yet when they get their book, they already have 3 books that they can buy. They'll have the codex and then the 2 Caradon books, because they both have stuff in there, which means average you're bringing 3 books with you at all times. Your main book, the DLC book, and then the rule book, assuming you bring the rule book with you. I mean, you're already carrying a lot of stuff. You already got that too many books, which 7th edition was really guilty of, and 8th edition didn't get that far, but 8th edition was kind of close with a few armies with how many books had to be brought.
For Psychic Awakening as well. Psychic Awakening, which seems to largely have been thought of negatively post-mortem. It was it's like a 7 supplements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a shame that these guys aren't their own book, but do you really want to bring an orc book, the Beast Snagga book, the rule book, plus whatever else DLC is gonna need in that book as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not gonna play it just like a pure Beast Snagga unit army. You're probably gonna have like a detachment of I'm blanking on orc clan names right now, but you're gonna have a different detachment of speed freaks.
Right.
So that's gonna require that book. So be happy that they're part of this book.
To actually counter my own thing that I brought up that was like potentially a criticism of this, they did mention that if you play snake bites, these will be better than they would be for like goths or speed freaks. So it's not like they didn't acknowledge them at all, in the same way that infiltrators probably kick ass in Raven Guard. I mean, what's to say about this release that's negative? I mean, isn't this just kind of didn't they just kind of hit it out of the park with these orcs?
Yeah.
Minor criticism of the box. It's 20 models, I believe 10 of which are resculpts. Maybe 9. I think the knob you could build as a regular boy, but like if you really look really hard, like you could see which ones are clones. I personally don't care. It's still cool, but also the box will probably sell out in like 5 minutes. So if you want one, sit it out.
Yeah, get that. And then there's the War Boss.
Then War Boss and Mega Armor. Finally getting a War Boss and Mega Armor. No longer have to use the old Gazgul model or convert your own. If you're terrible at converting like I am, you now finally buy a model that isn't Gazgul. And it looks great. I especially like the little grot on top with the Shuda.
The big Shuda.
This is probably the best orc model that's not Gazgul, in my opinion. Space orc.
Space orc model, yeah. I was gonna. It's really solid. It's interesting that it's not. I assume this is not going to have any options. Interesting that it is not the Claw War Boss. It is something else.
It's got a big chopper.
it's got a super big choppa, and that's still very orky. But I think like most when people think of Orc War Boss, I mean they got to think of Gazgul a little bit, but you kind of think of the Power Claw. For me, it's not a problem that it's not that, but it's interesting.
It'll be a multi-kit. I guarantee it'll be
I
a multi-kit.
I don't think it
you
will be.
think? I don't think so. I would be surprised. What they might do is they might make another Mega Orc War Boss that has
Yes.
different pose and a different weapon. And I'm sure if it's legal to do so, people will convert this model into having a hammer. I mean, having a claw. Like, there's ways to do it. Orc people like to convert anyway.
Yep.
This is a vital release. I think this is almost as essential as like having new orc boys for a model that is so synonymous with orcs, of like the mega orc war boss, like, and a model that has never been widely available in any good way. This is fantastic.
Oh, well, I know, it's crazy, right? We're at the 9th edition, and this model's finally getting its own model. That isn't, you have to proxy as Gazgul or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest criticism you can levy towards this model, is that, like, where was this guy 4 years ago when like the sculpting technology was ready to do it? Where was this guy during October for a model that's going to be in 50% of orc armies, if not more? But it's great that he's here. It's super cool. John, how do you feel about the little goblin on top with the big shooter?
There was a Photoshop of him on the crab. That's definitely model of the year.
Yes, that's awesome.
He's really cool. I like that a little bit. It kind of just makes, it's a very orc thing. You don't see other factions doing that. It really drives the army aesthetic in. No gun's probably gonna suck. I don't care. It's a cool model. It's a cool part of the model. So I could be like -4, like minus like 1 damage or something, whatever.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to see it.
It's super cool. All this orc stuff is great. They've also, this is only half of the orc models that we're going to be getting. With any luck, they will touch up the boys because, as I think the three of us have agreed on this in the past, like, if you want to have an army and you're going to, build it and paint it, you gotta love the troops, gotta love the battle line. That those things are cool and good and have nice models. That's the backbone, right? That has to work. And orc boys are. There was a time where they were okay. They're no good no more. Particularly next to these beast snaggers who have actual like upright spines.
Yeah, well, I feel like we're gonna have the Primaris situation if that does happen. So
at least the beast snaggers offer an alternative. If orc boys don't get redone, that would be too bad. But there's these guys, and that honestly, you can convert them too. Like orc players like to convert, maybe not all of them, but it's possible now.
It is. And then they released something completely out of left field. Cadian upgrade kit, basically.
So before we dive into this, I want to mention that last week we talked about some Necromunda upgrades, and were up for pre-order and confirmed they are 110% plastic.
Perfect.
So
nice. Is it this Cadian? Is it this Cadian thing?
No, it's the Necromunda weapons we talked about last week. We weren't sure if they're present or plastic. We know now they are plastic. So this
so cool.
Of just plastic upgrades for current kits. That's a great idea. Makes Forge World even less relevant. But I think like I said earlier, I kind of don't care about Guard. I think this is great. This is a great band-aid. I would even argue it's more than a band-aid. Like, just comparing how these look, because the old bodies, like, I always thought Cadians were goofy, but with these new heads, they look fine.
It's a good band-aid. And heads also, as humans, like, we're magnetically wired, like, to look at faces, and the Cadian faces suck. These save that so much. It's also, let's be a little controversial. it's cool that they got ladies and dudes in this box. Like if you're in the Imperial Guard, like I think the only requirement is that you have a gun and you're, you know, ready to go and shoot it at the bad guys.
Social commentaries incoming, like that just makes sense. That doesn't feel like forced or like SJW. Like that makes sense. If you were the Imperium and there's Tyranids or Orcs knocking, if you hold a gun, like Will said, the old las gun, go ahead and die for the Emperor, right?
Yeah, they don't care what you look like, what planet you're from, who or whatever you are. Like, if you want to go and fight some space aliens and also some demons and some really, really grumpy old men from 10,000 years ago, then here's a model.
As long as
It's
you're
super cool. Yeah, as long as you're
You know,
human. Or if you're close enough, like
close
Ogre.
enough. There's the one scene in Beast Rises, I think, where like one of the characters gets rescued by Marines and she's in a prison with like abhumans and the Space Marines just kill everyone and she's like, they're not human. She's like, they were my friends, like they're not human.
well, a good thing about this box is that you're actually getting all the weapon options instead of like a flamethrower and a grenade launcher.
Yeah, that's
In
cool.
the previous box, that was all you got. In this one, you're actually getting all weapon types. So it makes it even a better deal, especially for converting certain units. Instead of having to go buy bits offline or different boxes to get the bits that you need. So in all, that's pretty good.
I'm hoping what this is going to be is they're going to release this. It'd be cool if they could release it as a sprue on its own. Now, honestly, what would be much better for the long run, I think, is if they made this just another frame in the Cadian kit, even if it's $5 more. Then they could just have a kit of these are 10 pretty good models where the most important pieces of the miniature are HD and modern. So it does.
So, I
What are you
think
gonna
this
say?
actually confirmed this is going to be a new box with the old bodies and this new frame. What's
Correct.
unclear is if it'll be available separately. That's the big question. Like, can you get this separately?
And as far as I know, this is going to be the new standard box. That's all I know.
Yeah. I think this is better than releasing new Cadians because one, this works, and you could spend that resource making other regiments.
True.
Like I could see them doing like Steel Legion.
Where they
Or
could just start over.
they could just give
Yeah,
Ford
you're right. You're right.
and, like, do Death Core, but yeah, like Steel Legion or start over, make something new, like make something more Solar Ox like. Crossing fingers, I don't know, we'll see, but yeah. As far as band-aids go, this is up there of how to properly band-aid an old kit.
Yeah. I was quite shocked when I saw this, and I was pretty shocked by the War Boss beforehand. But this is solid. It does, again, kind of like the Mega Boss. It took a long time for this to get done, and it's not a whole new kit, but it works. I guess I hadn't really thought about it in the way you said it. They would rather just focus on, instead of just remaking Cadians, something that some people may not buy, they could just make, Steel Legion. And if Steel Legion were in plastic, maybe even I would have a guard army.
That's what everyone says.
Like those guys are so cool. Hell's Reach is an awesome book.
Hell's Reach, you're right. Damn it.
Yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, this is a better 40K day than the Sisters of Battle Day was, even though I don't think that one was as terrible. Like some people think that's like an actively terrible day, and like GW, lied to us or whatever. But this day just represented vital updates and exciting new stuff.
Well, this
in a
day
really
isn't
good way.
actually over yet. There's still
Ooh,
one
that's
more
true.
reveal.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, it just teases stuff. Let me just.
Actually relevant to some people in this stream.
You like Grey Knights.
This podcast.
You like Grey Knights, you like Thousand Suns, you getting teased. You're the next armies that are gonna be coming out.
That will at least get one model.
So overall, it was kind of unexpected. Again, I knew it was all gonna be orcs. Cadians got kind of thrown in the mix, and the next two books that they were releasing also got thrown in there. Stuff I didn't expect to happen.
Hmm.
So overall, I would say, as a 40k fan, I mean, even if you don't like these armies, this is great because it was something new, different, and we haven't seen.
Yeah. And the Cadian upgrade frame really is quite a shocker, in the best way. It's something I did not think they were willing to do, as making these sort of upgrade frames, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. That's something they're still interested in doing.
Yep. All in all, good day. I think we're on to the last day, right?
Oh, one more thing before we move on
Sure.
about the Grey Knights thing. I do wonder, they do mention Castle and Crow. I do wonder if this means Primaris Grey Knights. With all the
That's the question, isn't it?
Now they could just be Chaos Marine scaled Grey Knights, which is very possible, and I would be fine with, to be honest, because at least they're
Mhm.
scaled. Like I love the new Chaos Marine models. You guys know that, but yeah, it's an interesting question. We'll see. We'll see if we're seeing any strike box, strike squad, a new unit, or like a Primaris strike squad. So this is actually I'm curious about this box. I mean, Thousand Suns, whatever it is, it's going to be cool, but the Grey Knights part is going to be more interesting to me. What they're going to do.
Mhm.
I hope Thousand Suns gets a little bit more variety, but we'll see. We shall see. But let's move on to the news that John called. Age of Sigmar
Yeah.
3.0.
Or Heresy 2.0. Just kidding.
Which didn't really give us too much information, if we're being honest here. He gave us
Agreed.
It's
It did say it
it's
exists, which is
it's
important.
funny because this was so quite a lot of people on the internet were expecting this, and here it is, and it makes sense. It really makes sense too in terms of marketing. Like if this is 8 weeks away, they got to start talking about it.
I mean, it's not old world, is what you're saying.
What'd you say?
It's not old world, even though all the signs pointed that it would be. Obviously,
well, Old World's not for
Yeah.
another 12 years, so
Yeah, old world is, once the people who want to play, once the people, the fantasy players or Tomb Kings themselves, then we can get some old world action in, on playing 70-year-old legacy servers of Total War Warhammer 3. But yeah, I mean this is awesome. It's a huge deal. AOS is young enough that every edition is better than the last one. There's only really been 2.5, but they're all improvements. Like nobody's really clinging to kind of the 6th edition fantasy equivalent here. The game is also just only 5 years old. Awesome news for people who like Age of Sigmar, and there's some pretty sweeping changes to the way the game actually works. Nothing as extreme as like giving strength and toughness to every unit, but battalions are going away. That's a huge deal, because that was a have and have nots. Like battalions were not well balanced, not thought through enough, and from that sometimes you just got to have to start from scratch.
that was the time.
something interesting I want to point out is the new cover art. It's very Warhammer. It's
Yeah.
I think it's a good blend of like grim dark and the AOS kind of like heroic fantasy, high fantasy thing. You have this angelic like stormcast chick with lightning,
Hmm.
fighting like Cthulhu's cousins.
Yep.
Super
no.
cool,
Should we-
especially as the full book cover.
Should we talk about that model? We did show her off.
Female Sanguinius, let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that like because I mean there's the it's the same thing joke of like, oh, it's just like a fantasy Sanguinius. Like I mean, it's not the wings, it's not the gold armor, it's the fact that she has a sword and a spear, because only Sanguinius in whole Warhammer has a sword and a spear at the same time. And that plus the gold armor, the blonde hair, and the wings is like, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just kind of like, it's just it's just really obvious that this could have been like a Sanguinius STL or something, because
Uh,
and I'm again, I'm not mad. This is a dope model.
that's
No, it's
funny. I
very
didn't read
good.
it that I didn't read it that way, but that makes it cooler. I mean, I think uh, this model is funny to me because when I saw it, like I was like, oh, like awesome, this is really cool, but I wasn't necessarily blown away. But considering the fact that Warhammer has never had a fantasy angelic warrior model with actual feathery wings before now, is crazy. You know, there was no angels in Warhammer Fantasy, and there's an angel now. I would assume there's going to be other Stormcast angels that are going to come later, but this is a really simple premise, to my mind, done very well. A lot of people online are freaking out about the model, and they should be. And besides, female Sanguinius is cool.
I think it's a good model. If this was in 40K, I would hate it because it's on
Oh yeah,
stairs and it's
Oh yeah,
very highly up elevated. But in Age of Sigmar, it's fine because shooting isn't as prevalent.
yeah, that is true.
So the whole hiding it is not that big of a deal.
is she gonna be in the starter set?
I would assume so.
It's a very good question. It's a very, very
I
good
would
question.
assume she would be.
It's also she's a brand new character. We've we're aware that there were other Stormcast characters hiding in the wings, but like wings, no pun intended. But like they said on the stream, like they wanted her to be something that was going to be like an ally you would want to take in any order army. So if she's in the starter set, it would make sense. It would give people more reason to get it, and that would be a ridiculously cool model to see in a Games Workshop store demo board.
I would agree with Matt because one, what Will said is true, and for me, my argument is that supports it is that for a angelic model with with a warrior angel like Sanguinius, you can do a lot with the pose, especially with the current model technology that we have, and she's very reserved, and that to me kind
Mhm.
of screams easy build, not in a bad again,
I,
not in a bad way, but
I
the
think so too.
points that she is starter set level. If not core set, definitely like the wave 0 like expansion, like like the Cellstar Ballista and the like Reikenor the Grim, the Reikenor the something, I forgot his name now.
The Grim Hailer.
Inhaler, there we go.
He
Like
hails the Grim.
Wave 0 starter set expansions. So she's definitely gonna be part of the initial wave, if not probably not a full kit. That's my argument. She could be way more crazy pose wise, but she's not, and that I think is probably because she's an easy build model.
That's
Yeah,
very
that-
insightful. I would be willing to agree.
I'm just saying that because I have a Sanguinius model like across the. He's pretty wildly posed, especially for a resin model. I can't imagine what it would be if he was plastic, and she is plastic.
Mhm. Yeah, her legs in particular are grounded right on that staircase. So I could see this being sort of new era Games Workshop technology, awesome starter set miniature. And I'm sure if she's not, they'll come up with something cool. But that'll be pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then the other Stormcast stuff that's been revealed.
Yeah, we got what would we say this? Custodians
Oh gosh,
Stormcast.
we have robe cast. What are these like? I don't know, spear cast.
So these are, I mean, the Vindictors is the unit that they showed off. They did show one model from another unit, but like these guys are basically guys and gals, which is always cool. Thanks, Stormcast. These are essentially like a more agile, sort of like strike team kind of Stormcast. And I think the armor design really sells that. You can see that just the way the armor is composed, like they look like they're more flexible. They seem like they would be more agile, but they're still like in hulking, plate mail, right? But they can also like see over their shoulders.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
So
look quite
there's
bulky.
That's true.
they're a little more grounded. And I think for the most part, I really like the design. The guy who's just kind of standing there in the static pose, is such a sweet model. And like it's not like functionality is really important in a fantasy game in terms of like what armor designs look like, but they look like they looks like the kind of thing that you could wear and fight in to a degree, even if you weren't a superhuman.
Yeah,
It's
they're
super
just
cool.
gonna point out that this is just a new. They're not Primaris. They're not like a new kind of body. Like they're just the same Stormcast wearing different armor.
Yeah. And they're also not a replacement for like anything that Stormcast already has. There's a
Yep.
weird tinfoil cat conspiracy that these are like getting rid of other Stormcast models. There's no need to do that.
Yeah,
There's nothing in Stormcast Eternals that needs to be updated. Really, like
Or
they,
replaced.
yeah, they just make more stuff. Something interesting that I actually heard on a podcast recently about, Stormcast, we knew we were going to be in the starter set, right? Nobody's shocked. The last edition of Age of Sigmar, Stormcast got their book at the very beginning, and it really lasted them the whole edition with almost no updates or changes. Like they got one book, it was good, not OP, not underpowered. It just worked. It's
yeah,
kind of great. It doesn't always happen
I know,
Yeah.
right?
for the starter factions.
Despite the conspiracy that they always would get something. Like the last time a Stormcast model was released was more than it was almost 2 years ago. Like I said,
And
not like
then,
artist, character,
yeah,
that
yeah.
a big release, like a wave.
What even would that have been? No, it was just
I
the
think it was.
3 years ago was Soul Wars.
I think yeah, I think it was that.
I think Soul Wars. They and Soul Wars is a really great box. It'll be still sad to see it go, but I mean, it also just worked. Like it launched a new army. It made Stormcast more relevant, gave them cool Robecast stuff, which will still be in the game. And now they're just adding to it. They're just making this an army that has even more reason to enjoy. And then a new person starting Stormcast with this. I mean, holy smokes, you'll have so much stuff to explore once you get started. Um, how do you guys feel about these new sort of sleek Stormcast?
I like them. They look nice. I mean, they're just different. There's nothing. I don't have any outrage at their design or anything. I think they look just fine. Fit with their army. Plus, if we want a bulky Sigmarine, we have the next model to look at.
Oh, then you
Indeed, we do. Mm-hmm.
We can get John's thoughts really fast, and then we can move on to him.
I play Stormcast. You guys know this. I'm actually not hyped about any of this because I already have Stormcast. Part 1. Part 2, they're naked, and the robe casts are just so cool to me. I mean, I play Dark Angels, they have robes. I find that really cool. I just like the aesthetic of the robe warrior monk. So I'm not really too excited for these. I think they're great. I think they're good. I'm glad they're coming out. No problems. I'm not saying where's my robe cast. That's cool. Like good for Stormcast people or whoever's gonna get excited about this. That's great. Um, I don't think I'll ever be sold on Stormcast helmets as something I enjoy a lot.
Hmm.
It's just not my thing. And it's iconic, right? That kind of that face helmet. That's Stormcast. To me, that's actually very iconic for what Stormcast are. But from now on, if I don't know if you guys notice my Stormcast army, if I could give them a bare head, I do. And I think they would look way cooler than that anyway. It makes them look more like a fantasy like warrior thing as opposed to like jokes aside, a space marine. So, um, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying a lot of positive things about these guys, but I still think they're cool. They're just not for me. If I pick up the new starter set, it's not gonna be for these guys.
Hmm.
They may just be in my closet until maybe someday I'll find them cool. So who knows? But right now, very lukewarm. I think it's great. I think they're releasing this, just not for me.
Well, what about this big guy?
I actually think he looks really ugly.
Yeah, I'm not really too sold on him.
He definitely looks bulky. That's cool, but not definitely out of all the Stormcast, this is the number one thing that is not for me. I would say.
He is
Stormcast release.
so awesome. I love the lion breastplate. The weirdo shoulder things give him such a bizarre and like distinct silhouette. This is a model that could only be an Age of Sigmar model. Like it's so ludicrous. Like in the way that the other Stormcast, like they showed, like they have armor that seems like sensible. Like, oh yeah, you could put that on and go kill people with it. This is like, what are you wearing? It's so unabashedly out there and Age of Sigmar. Like the first time I saw this model, I was like, it's kind of cool. But then I like thought about it more. I was like, this is just so sick. It is in the tradition of like the other Stormcast paladins, and I should say, I tend to agree that the Stormcast without helmets look really really cool. The Stormcast helmet is iconic, but like it's not necessarily my favorite. I mean, that was the coolest thing is when they started giving them, we could see the person underneath. Uh, this is a really striking model, and I think they did a good job with it. However, the thing I don't really like about either of these Stormcast units they've showed is I think the shield is was a little too weird. The old Stormcast shield, particularly the Liberator shield and the Sequitur shields too, it's just a perfect design. Like they're just so good. Like it's simple. It has like the cool hammer, lightning bolt thing on it, with the sacrosanct, the robe cast, as John said. Like they have their own kind of symbol on there. It's not, probably not all that practical, but it looks like it could, protect the model. It's like a kite shield. And these are kind of, they're small. They have a notch on them. They have that Sigmar face thing with the diamond sticking out. Not super sold on that. But thankfully, I don't think it kills the models for me. But I, applaud them for trying something different. But I kind of wish they had kept them the same.
Well, that's Age of Sigmar. A lot of experimenting.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
good.
that's true, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I like this weird new Annihilator, which is so funny. It's called an Annihilator. Oh my god, that
Later, man. What the other one's called? Vindictors.
Everything ends with a TOR. Sequitors, Liberators, Indictors. Vindictors are the other ones. Yeah, it's somebody. Sigmar really likes those three letters. I mean, it's funny. Yindrasta is the thing to the Angel Lady. She's the thing I'm least hyped for. These are pretty cool. This makes me excited to see what else they do with Stormcast. And I also can't wait to see more of them without heads. I like that they showed them also in different colors for the different storm hosts. That's really a smart idea because the gold and blue is just not for everybody. It just isn't.
I'm definitely glad he exists. It's not for me, but I'm glad he exists, and I'm glad he's coming out. And I am curious, like you mentioned, what the others are going to look like.
Yeah, that'll be cool. They really did not show anything of substance of the enemy faction, which I think we can probably safely guess is going to be their destruction faction that's tied in closer with Kragnos. That seems like a safe bet. They're not going to be Kragnos' species, I think, because they're going to be in a starter set. Though that would be very strange. And it was just like three big centaur people.
The big Vimir being retconned to destruction now, which I'm all.
I don't think they can do Vimir without starting over. Vimir, I mean, they would have to just start their lore over. They couldn't use them. In the way that they used to be in fantasy.
Well, they came out with a video with the Stay Out the Mire. Is that supposed to tie into this?
Yeah,
Sure,
that's
we can get
probably
something out of that.
That's probably the other side. It could be like an army of swamp orcs. It could be some new species.
Or crabs.
Crabnos. I mean, it could be a whole new species. It could be one of our other destruction species. Like the nice thing about destruction is it's kind of open ended. It would be, for my money, it would be nice if it was something new. Like if it's Vimir or not Vimir. Like if it's a new species, that would be really cool. just because it would make destruction feel more like, just the army of things that don't like chaos, but don't want to build cities. And it'd be nice to have a troll in a starter set again. What do you guys think this would be?
Well, I was gonna say like a troll faction, but I don't think that would happen, would it? Did they make an army full of trolls?
It kind of did already.
Oh, with the
I mean, Gloomspite also Gloomspite is a bunch of trolls. I mean, more trolls would be great. I mean, I love troll-like models, just owning them and looking at them and thinking about them. They could definitely do that. But I imagine for the purpose of a starter set, they're gonna have to. I just think it's gonna be something that's more of sort of like a horde-ish kind of faction that's gonna have 20 of something.
I think it's something creepy for sure based on the trailer.
Yeah.
Evil wood
if they're
elves.
if they're like swamp mutated greenskins, that would be cool, or just something spooky, because they also want to kind of follow up Soul Wars with something that feels similarly
Threatening.
Ominous and threatening. Yes, yeah, exactly right.
I do wonder if it's gonna have more Cities of Sigmar stuff because of the humans there. I mean, that's kind of drawing at straws, but I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
I mean,
we'll find out.
AOS 3 will probably revamp a bunch more stuff. I mean, there's Cities of Sigmar exists, but like an Order of Vizier army would also be really welcome for like a brand new humanoid faction that's like not composed of models. Some of them are really old. That would be super cool. And Beastmen probably need to be redone from the ground up. I don't know how many people actually play Beastmen, but a whole lot more of them would if those models weren't terrible. And I like Beastmen in theory. Like it's it's cool how many people are excited by wacky donkey goat people to have collected Beastmen since Fantasy, but their models are kind of whatever for the most part, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I thought Beastman got updated. No, was that only just like a select few models?
They got a book, and they got endless spells and a herdstone, which was awesome. But like
that was it.
That's kind of it.
Oh, okay.
They have some okay sculpts, like they have a couple cool monsters, some of which are in resin, some of which are in plastic, like with like the cockatrice and like the chimera, and like they would totally fit with like the story Age of Sigmar is going in, of like this starter set is probably going to take place in the realm of beasts, so presumably monsters are going to be a big deal. Maybe AOS 3 will somehow make monsters a more relevant force on the tabletop end of things. I don't know, but that would be awesome. Just because like it's minotaurs and stuff like that are a classic fantasy staple, and GW hasn't quite gotten that archetype right.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. Especially since what? I'll just mention this. Since the in-store LA Cafe Warhammer, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They said they're going to be hosting indoor events, and they said they will be using the third 3.0 version. So AOS 3.0 should be coming out before. What is it? July 12th, or is it June 12th?
Probably, yeah. That makes sense if it's in June. Or
yeah.
Around. I can see them having like the rules available in the general release or something.
Mm.
I would imagine that we're going to see AOS 3 in the next 8 weeks. Not within the next 8 weeks, but like roughly, 8-9 weeks from now. 2 months. I don't know why I said 8 weeks. But like, it would make sense that they've advertised it, and then over the next couple of weeks, they're going to advertise who the bad guys are in that box. Because they got to keep it fresh. And there's, even though this was a big announcement. Like everybody who has a stake in Age of Sigmar needs to know that this is a thing for GW to make it the success that it has to be.
Well, I think
And
I think in 2 weeks we'll start getting more info on it, and then yeah, sometime in June it'll be out. Probably, if I had to make a guess here, I would assume the 26th is when it'd be out.
yeah, that would make sense. I think they're probably going to need to spend the rest of this month. At the very least, they got to get Soulblight out. That has to happen, and they've already started that. Well, they've already announced that they're going to do that, and then they got to get Kragnos and Croak and all those other models in that book out. Well, at least a month before AOS 3 happens. So they're going to have to. It's going to be quite a bit of AOS for a little while, I think.
Which is fine because 40k wise they're already backed up, so need to start getting that stuff out. But overall, how would you guys rate Warhammer Fest?
I'm pretty satisfied.
How do you feel about the presentation? It being 6 days.
I mean, to me, my favorite presentation that they ever done is just when it's like 6:30 at whatever. Maybe after the panel is done in the actual con, they just drop an article with everything. That was my favorite. I'm not a fan of the streaming thing. I think it's cringy in the sense of it's two people who are paid to be excited about specific things and not other things. It's too professional as a stream to me, in my opinion. I much prefer to just drop everything. I don't think Adam Troke or like those guys are bad people. Like, I mean, they're doing their job, right? I just think that they should just drop. I really like it when they just dropped everything at once and we just scroll down and get hyped about it.
So you would prefer it? You would have preferred it just like a 1 day dump kind of deal instead of 6 days?
Yeah, honestly, I even don't mind if it was 6 days if you just dumped everything. I mean, clearly for me, like the weakest part was the fact that 90% of the sister stuff was out. I think that's the biggest weakness of this. As for 6 days, if you just dumped everything at once. I mean, I actually enjoyed like having some, new stuff trickling in every day. I thought that was kind of cool. But I'm not a fan of the streaming thing at all. I would just dump an article of the day's releases or the con's releases, and then just like, here you go, guys.
I do think it's important to have some. I mean, they probably don't need to do a live stream of it, but like to have some like pre-recorded videos of like the developers talking about it, because that kind of gives you more stuff to dig into. That's not just a Warhammer community article. Like, I mean, it's also I also kind of understand what you mean though about like Eddie Eccles and Adam Troke kind of sitting there and talking about how great it is. Like, that's their job to do. But it kind of when they're kind of just running over everything is awesome, like they're not going to be critical about anything. They have to say everything is great even if they believe everything is great. It just doesn't really offer much of interest presentation wise. Like, I think if they put up the videos and they did it as normal, that would be great. But I'm actually not opposed to having the developers like talk about it.
Actually, I agree. I think having dropping an article and having like a video of like Dan Abnett, like, and they used to do that before. They have like the late Alan Blight talk about like the Black Book they just announced. Have a video of it. That was cool. Or like have like people talk about the edition or something. That's fine. I'm just not a fan of like, all right, chat, let's interact with chat for like 30 seconds, and then like a minute later chat is all Cursed City, and it's like they just ignore it. It feels really fake. And I think I think it hurts them. It just pushes the angle of like we're being fake about it kind of thing. And Games Workshop I think they're doing a pretty solid job interacting with the community, but stuff like that to me is just, and especially with what's going on with the radio silence in Cursed City, and seeing like a live stream and that blowing up with Cursed City. I mean, it's a meme, right, at this point. But and them just ignoring it completely. Why have that in the first place? You just look like tools, I think. So and again, like I don't blame Adam Troke or the other guy. I think as a marketing tool, I'm not a fan of the streaming thing. And for any game company, when FFG did that, or AMG, I was like, whatever, like just show me the models, and drop a video of the developers talking about it in some article I could read at my own leisure. So
I think the only things I liked about the stream format, which honestly didn't need to be streamed anyway, I liked the Wade Price interview with Dan Abnett. I thought that was cool. And I liked that they, even though it was only 15, it was only like a minute, the memorial for Richard Halliwell, I think that was a good idea, even though it was on a day that had nothing to do with his work. Because like he just died, and I mean he was the creator of Space Hulk. Like that was cool. But they also could have just posted a video about that. Like it didn't need to be a live stream kind of thing. And honestly, the fact that it wasn't pinned in the Warhammer community article means that if you didn't watch the stream or like a recording of the stream, nobody would know. The streaming thing I don't think is necessary. But I do like it when they have like, if they're gonna have stuff with the developers or people who work there, let it be significant. Even if it's just them talking about how amazing the new edition is going to be. Like, I watched the video that was the developers talking about AOS 3. Like that was content to me. But yeah, the Twitch stream or whatever, I would not care for it. I mean, I didn't watch any of it live.
Yeah, well, my opinion is the Twitch stream is just awful. I've even for non-Warhammer Fest days, I've watched it and it's just because you know why everyone's there. Everyone wants to see the models and what's new and all that other stuff. No one wants to have all this chatter for two people to talk about stuff. They can talk about, they can go over the details of the models and stuff, that's fine, whatever. But that whole in between talk that no one really cares about, it's awful. I think they should get like for like Warhammer Fest, since this is something they do. I don't know how long has Warhammer Fest been going on for?
a while now, yearly.
A while. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have done like a whole pre-recorded event kind of day and then just like break up the video into 2 parts, right? And then it would just be like a normal Warhammer Fest day, and then drop articles on each event that keeps happening, like what they used to do. Like in LVO when they were reviewing all the new models and stuff, it would just periodically get updated. Could have just done something like that. The 2 spokespersons I find really boring, honestly. None of them are really hyping the stream up, and what makes it worse is that you have to be like a subscriber to even chat in the Twitch. So that means you have to spend money to be able to talk in their Twitch chat, which looks really bad. Kind of like a greedy corporation kind of thing,
Especially because they don't interact with the chat. I think that makes it worse.
They interact with the chat, but it's
Not much.
their reason is they don't want the chat to move so fast that they can't read it. That's what they're claiming. And it's just like, then just enable slow mode. It'll still go by really fast, but I mean, you're barely reading the chat anyway. It's just like, as everyone just spams crabs or where they're watching the stream from. It's not too important. You're not interacting too much with the chat. But yeah, honestly, they should probably just reduce this down to 2 days. I know why they made it 6 days. They wanted that hype. They wanted to keep it ongoing due to the, current situation that they're in terms of releases. So what better way than to give something new every day? But yeah, honestly, but if you don't want to watch it, that's fine. Like, you don't have to watch the streams to get the news, because they will drop an article on that day. But I feel like if you're gonna do a live stream kind of thing, you should make it a little more entertaining and more hype than what we got. That's all my thoughts on that. But I think we're gonna end the news segment right there, and we're gonna go straight into hobby rants. Unless you guys got anything else you want to say about Warhammer Fest.
I think that sums it up pretty well.
We're getting a crab model. That is all.
All right then. Will, what's up? What'd you do last week?
Unfortunately, almost nothing hobby related, as I was out of town, kind of away from my hobby desk, as it were, looking after and kind of tending to other business. So I got to do a grand total of 0 hobbying. Though I did end up finding a bunch of my my like ancient Tyranids from when I was a kid, and like I apparently painted up like 500 points of Dark Eldar at some point in my life that I did not remember. So it's I mean I'm visiting my folks' home, kind of clearing that stuff out so they don't just have just swimming in their kids' figures for forever. But I didn't get to hit the painting table at all, which is kind of a bummer.
No
What did you
gaming
get
either?
up to, Matt? No. I mean, I've just mostly been business. What have you been up to, Matt?
Well, I finally got a game in last week, and
Hey,
I must say, poor Chaos Space Marines, man. They really need an update. Oh my gosh. I
Oh,
got my Dark Eldar got to fight some good old Chaos Space Marines, good old Travis's World Eaters, and yeah, it did not go well. Not for the good old World
I mean,
Eaters.
it doesn't help that Dark Eldar are like the most powerful army in 40k in recent time. I mean, I'm not saying that like you're bad for playing them. It's just kind of funny how like Cast Marines fighting like hashtag 70%. You know,
Yeah, it's just they just really needed that. They really
that
need
too.
those wounds
Yeah.
to make them more competitive because one wound berserkers is
Oh
so
god.
sad.
Oh.
But yeah, I got to do that finally. And that's was pretty much it. It was the only gaming day I got. Well, hopefully this week I will be doing more and finally paint up some other AOS stuff in preparation of 3.0.
Yeah.
yeah.
How about you, John? How was your week?
Actually, finished my secret kill team, which is not secret anymore. It's Sisters of Battle. So I bought a squad. Yeah, I'll try. These are cool models enough to like make a kill team out of. And yeah, I played some kill team. Was dismayed that I was talking about earlier. The heavy bolter for Sisters does not have new stats. But I got smashed by Thousand Suns. It was still fun though. Kill team, like I was saying earlier, kill team. I think Will keep saying play with the right people. Mostly anything can be fun. And that was true for Kill Team. I've been bagging on Kill Team for the longest time. So, I played it with a really good buddy, and it was fun. We just didn't really, do nitty gritty and like make like um be hyper competitive and all that. And it was fun, it was an enjoyable experience. I do wish that the rules were updated, or sorry, the not the rules, the model stats were updated. How like like Chaos Marines would get 2 health as well, or like the weapons would carry over. But overall, it was fun. So now I'm working some some vampire counts, Soul Blight. I just finished my vampire. I'm working on Holgrim, which is from Cursed City, White King. But yeah, pretty hyped for vampires. Definitely gonna be pre-ordering a lot of the stuff. We didn't talk about Sunday Baby, but it's essentially like the Soul Blight stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's a roughly half of this All Blight stuff. So I imagine we will get the rest soon enough.
Yep.
Probably next week.
Most likely.
But they have a lot of stuff to release.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but this stuff will be pre-ordered, up for pre-order this week, and then so you're gonna wait for like 2 more weeks to get the other half of this Soul Blight, most likely.
But at least they're quick, and it's one of the fastest turnarounds on announcement to being out, particularly for the for Lauka Vi, the like half Drake, half vampire character. She's on pre-order, like, you know, really soon after she was revealed, which is kind of crazy. So, you know, they're not sitting on their hands for that.
Which they shouldn't, because like we said, last month was pretty bad, especially when they took that 2-week break.
Yeah, I think we're back now to regularly scheduled pre-orders.
It's funny because for so long, Games Workshop didn't work like that at all. Like, it was just, you were lucky if anything came out. You know, if you got 3 codexes a year during the kind of the slower era. But like, Games Workshop has sort of trained its customers to like need things right away, or it feels like nothing's coming out. But I mean, I think that 2 weeks was necessary. If it means that we're not just going to be selling out insanely quickly, or having like what happened to Bellacore, which, even though that was only for 1 model, I mean, that was shocking. He's so hard to get. I don't, probably even harder to get than Cursed City, because they didn't make as many of him. Like Duncan Rhodes, who doesn't work for Games Workshop anymore, but has his own, you know, big painting channel and subscription service. He couldn't get a Bellacore. Like, nobody, like, if somebody like that can't get something for their business, like, they had some issues to sort out. Understandable, considering, you know, the pandemic. But at least they're back to it now.
Yep, and we're all happy for it, at least, because we like consistent schedules. Nice. It's always nice to have something new, even if I don't play the army or game. You know, it's always nice knowing that every week something new is coming out.
Consistent releases are good. Consistent rules are optional.
Well, you know, can't win all the battles.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, I think this is a good time to close off here. Thank you guys for joining me in the rants.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thanks for putting it together.
Everyone else for joining and listening to our long podcast. There was a lot of news. There's some stuff we didn't even get to, but next week we'll just add that to that. So, until next time, guys. Goodbye.
Later on.